In the House, it is Philip Chamblee, who's Executive Director, Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. Philip, good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Paul. I just want to say that I had a smile on my face because the first concert I ever went to was a Ray Charles concert. My
Get
dad
out
took
of here.
Yeah, I was a little boy. It was great. It was Jackson Coliseum.
Where Jackson Coliseum?
Yeah.
You remember any of the songs?
Oh, he sang that one, and
Was Georgia out then?
I don't remember. I was about 6 or 7 years old. I do remember my mother was a little concerned about us seeing the Rayettes because they had some really good dance moves.
Oh man, what a time.
It was the first concert I ever went to. Maybe I was about 10, but it was great.
Did you ever see the biopic on him with the movie?
Yes.
It was pretty darn good, wasn't it?
Very good, and I think Jamie Foxx, he's a pianist. He played all the piano music. So, I think if I remember right.
Did he sing too?
I don't remember. I don't
either. I don't either. All right, but that's not the topic of conversation we got you in here for. There's just a multitude of different things. An overview of where we are as far as the petroleum folks in our state. And I think we've done a pretty good job to let people know over the years that when prices are high, as far as gas is concerned, and I think people understand this, and I think they trust us when we say this, that they're not gouging anybody. They don't make any more money. They're just passing it on. If they had their choice, gas would be Donald Trump $2.15 because more people would be hitting the stores.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a volume business, and that's the one thing that it's a misnomer. They actually probably make less money because of credit card charges and everything when prices go up. And just to remind our listeners, Paul, there's about 2,448 convenience stores in Mississippi, employs about 40,000 people. So it's a big industry in Mississippi. Yeah. We keep Mississippi on the move.
You guys ought to be working with tourism too, because I've often said this. That, to me, that is the number one location where we shine when people coming from on the interstates across our state, all the web of interstates, on by roads and everything else. If they're going to have an interaction with anybody, first of all, it's going to be the employees at the convenience stores.
You are correct. That's a very good point, Paul, because that's the first interaction a lot of times when you come into a state. And
it is.
Buy fuel, take advantage of the products in the store that you would like to
Philip,
purchase.
there are stories out there where that one interaction, which was the first by somebody from out of state who happens to be a guy looking to move his company or something and is going through Mississippi to go somewhere else to look at it and has that interaction. We've heard numerous stories like that. People deciding, I was in Mississippi and those are some pretty nice folks. The contact at, and I'll leave it here, but the contact at the convenience stores, the web, how many did you say across the state?
2,448 as of last
Every
December.
single one of those is a welcome center.
Absolutely.
And it is critical. So I hope you pass that on.
I will.
All right. One of the things I mentioned earlier this morning was that this transfer from gasoline to charging and everything else. Where are we with this? Where are the petroleum marketers or the convenience stores? What's their take on this?
Well, Paul, we support, the people that I work for in the convenience stores, they're going to sell what the consumer wants. And we're not anti-electric cars at all. It's just the fact that there's so many things that has to take place. And one of the first things that did take place this year is the Mississippi legislature passed a law, and the governor signed, that allows for the resale of electricity to charge your vehicles on. You can't resell it anywhere else. So before July the 1st of this year, you could not resell electricity, so there was no profitability there for the convenience store. So now a convenience store can put in a charging station and they can charge a fee for someone to charge their vehicle. So that's the first step, and it's out of the way. The second step is when you look at the infrastructure and the demand. I've been told that it costs anywhere from $50,000 to $500,000 to put in an electric charging station.
One,
yes. Now, I've been told that. I can't cite that.
Wow.
But it's pretty expensive because you got the electrical infrastructure, the cost of the unit and everything. And you can't place that by the gas dispensers or gas pumps. It has to be in a separate area for safety reasons. Number one, those chargers get hot, just like when you charge your telephone, the charging block gets hot. So it has to be away from the dispenser for safety reasons. And then that vehicle is going to sit there for up to 30 minutes. So, when it takes 5 minutes to fill up your vehicle with gasoline, liquid motor fuel, you don't want to block the pumps, as they used to say in the old days, if you had a gas station.
Well, and that's going to be the number one thing. We got to go through more evolutions of this battery before we get anywhere close to that.
Correct.
Even if you had an area by the restrooms or somewhere else, it's going to take up a lot of
real estate.
A lot of real estate for a little return on your investment.
Right. And, when you look at it, the real estate of the convenience store is precious. Mm-hmm. And so you've got to look at the return on investment. You've got to look at your market area. I mean, my hometown of Carthage, Mississippi, I don't think you do too well with the charger as you would in, maybe Jackson or Madison or Brandon, one of the more metropolitan areas. So it's all about economics. The consumer should pick what they want. The government should not be choosing the type of fuel we use to go down the road. So, you need to take an all of the above approach. Gasoline may be best for me. Diesel fuel may be best for you. Propane may be best for Perez. Electric vehicle charge. Everybody needs to pick what's best for them. The government doesn't need to say, hey, you've got to drive this.
Are you guys brought into the conversation as far as how we're going to tax this, or with any ideas at all? Because it seems the simplest way is to, where you put a charging station, they, just like the gasoline, they compute the tax there, and they add it on to the whatever the gallon is, they add it on to whatever the amount of charge is. But I don't know how you do that across the board.
Well, that's already been taken care of, Paul. About 4 or 5 years ago, the legislature passed a law that puts a fee of $200 on an electric vehicle when you go to buy your car tag, which is about the average of what the average Mississippian pays in road taxes. And then if you have a hybrid electric, I think the fee is around $75 or $100. So they've already got that in place. So that's there. So if you buy an electric vehicle, when you go to purchase your car tag or renew it, that's when they charge the fee for the motor fuel. Whereas with when you buy gasoline, it's on every gallon of gas.
The marketplace is talking now. The marketplace is saying something that the Biden administration doesn't want to hear, but because of the high prices, they're not going toward, and we saw that EV bus company go belly up the other day.
Yes.
And we've seen Ford just devastating losses in that division as far as their trucks are concerned. And none of the news is good. But where the news is good is people are saying, look, I would like to go back to the hybrid.
Correct.
And that is the thing that's selling.
Right. I think, if you look at environmental factors, if you look at, the one that makes the most sense to me, if you're going to move away from a vehicle that uses 100% liquid motor fuel to something that the hybrid is the way to go. It just makes sense to me.
Safety-wise and trust-wise, if you're out in the open, I mean, that's you got both ways on that.
Correct.
And I don't understand either from buses and everything. We haven't done more technology on that, but like the Prius, to upscale the Prius. So anyway, where are we going with these prices, though? Because everything in the market seems to be counterproductive to lower prices. As a matter of fact, where we hear from people like AAA and others is that don't look for any relief soon. I'll give you a chance to answer that when we come back. Philip Chamblee, Executive Director of Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association, when we return right after this. Massey, I think he's from up Batesville way, Lambert or somewhere in that area. So there you are. In the house, it is Philip Chamblee, who's Executive Director at Mississippi Petroleum Marketers Association. When we last left, we were talking about what? I forgot.
Well, you was wondering about, yes. with the situation with crude oil in the world, where prices are going. And so not to get into specifics of pricing, but an overall view of it is first of all, typically, your fuel goes up in the spring and summer due to demand and the fact that the refineries have to start manufacturing a summer blend fuel, which is a cleaner burning fuel, and that's required by the EPA. And then in the fall, they go back to their winter blend, which is a more inexpensive fuel to manufacture. Well, usually the prices of gasoline at the pump go down in the fall. Well, the reason you're not seeing anything right now is multiple. Number one, is the situation with the Saudi Arabia cut their production back at one point of over 1 million barrels a day. Russia has cut their production back, so that's putting pressure on the market. And whenever you have that occur with less oil, I mean, it's going to drive the prices up. Another factor that's come into it this year, which is more unusual than normal, is the heat wave because it's affecting the efficiency of the refineries. So that's affecting how much output you're getting from them. So there's multiple things that's going on. But until Saudi Arabia ramps back up their production and the Ukrainian war settles down, and you've got the Wall Street traders that enjoy making money off the futures too. So it's multiple factors. So, it needs to be coming down, and that's the reason it's not.
Well, and a lot of this is man-made from this administration also.
Correct.
I mean, because it doesn't have to be this way.
Correct. When the president...
I mean, he's created a perfect storm.
Yes. When the president released the Strategic Petroleum Reserves are at their lowest ever since 1975. Supposed to have about, I think, 730 million barrels in there. It's less than half the capacity. I think the last time it was this low was 1983. Mm-hmm. So that doesn't help either.
Well, and again, if it is true that some of the oil went to China, you've got to wonder what the hell is going on. I mean, this is absolutely crazy that this guy, and he took, I think it was not... Well, it was in the last couple of months he's taken more. Now, I'm not talking about the Grand Canyon, and that's mineral rights and things such as that, but he took more land off limits to drilling. Now, so if prices go up, Philip, normally in the marketplace, and there is a shortage, producers are going to be producing more to fill that.
Correct.
But in this particular case, they are in an industry that have been saying, we want to put you out of business, and we're doing our best to put you out of business, so you can't do more. So we have the President of the United States of America being more proactive than the communist leader in China or North Korea or Russia to hurt us.
Correct. When your leadership is saying basically we are trying to put you out of business, if you're the chairman of a publicly traded company that's got a refinery, how can you go to your shareholders and invest more money in something that you're being told is going to be put out of business?
It's like coal mines, the same thing. I mean, we're going to shut you down, and we're promising everybody to shut you down. And it's not just a haphazard statement early on in a campaign. He's reiterated that over and over.
Right. And when you look at it, who's going to burn the coal cleaner? The United States or our adversaries? We are. Yeah. Same thing with the exploration and production of fuel. We are my industry is very good stewards of the environment, and but there's people who have just think that that if you drive a vehicle or use any type of petroleum product, you're just really putting a death nail in the environment.
Yeah. We've all seen how ridiculous this is, and I think most people in this country know that. When you see, what was the guy the other day? He was saying, "Can you give me a gallon of gas?" And it was an electric vehicle.
Yeah.
And he had a generator in the back.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
It's
almost like we're pretending. We see it, but we can't say anything.
Right. And when you look at it, I mean, the things that this administration could do to help the American people. Mm-hmm. We were energy independent under President Trump. We are not now under the current administration. And if they was to conduct new federal leases, about 25% of our oil comes from that. A complete new 5-year program for offshore drilling, support energy infrastructure, and reopen Alaska. I mean, all these things would help relieve the pressure we have on us right now in the system.
All of that is pertinent on the next election. And that's if the election is conducted in a proper manner. I got some cuts on that one that makes you angry when you start hearing some of these cuts about how the election was stolen one way or the other. And I think the president's going to be pointed out. He's also right on that one. I do want to go back on this one though. When you talk about the extreme heat.
Yes.
And man, you look at the forecast, and I'm talking about not only the next week, but the next couple of 3 weeks. We're talking 97 to 100. It's relentless and stuff unless something happens. How does this affect the convenience stores? Is there anything that they have to deal with as far as the tanks underground, et cetera?
No, the tanks underground are fine. The issue is that the manufacturing facility, just like any manufacturing, the higher the temperature, it slows things down a lot of times. And so that's what the refineries are experiencing right now. But the consumer at the convenience store, everything is business as usual.
I think you as well as my brother in broadcast, Gerard Gibbert, are still on the lottery board, or are you?
Yes, sir, I am.
So, were you a little bit surprised at how well they took to this? Because, and I forgot his name, God bless you, Jeff's predecessor, who came in.
Tom Shaheen.
Yeah, Tom. God, I forgot Tom's name. I'm sorry. Tom, if you're listening, mea culpa. But everybody was pleased. And I remember Tom telling us over and over, man, we couldn't believe how well accepted this was.
Right.
Because a lot of people were talking about, you come to Mississippi and we're going to have to train them with an abacus or something. But he said it was one of the best places ever. And I think when you look at the problems that we've had, the lack of those and everything else, we can stand proud that I think we did a darn good, much like the casinos and everything else, we've done a good job.
Absolutely. The legislature laid out a very good lottery law in Alice Clark Act. And then when we were able to onboard Tom, he put together a team. And he did an excellent job with his team, and it has really went well. And one of the things you have to look at, too, in the evolution of technology, when you go to a convenience store, the point-of-sale equipment is a touch-face interface. And so is all the lottery monitors, too. So, your employees, are used to smartphones, things of that nature. So the learning curve was not that great. It was just having to learn how to do the actual lottery sale and how that goes. So it's been a great thing for Mississippi. I mean, you look at the fact that, the first 7 months that the lottery was in operation, we hit $70 million. And then every year since then, we've met our goals.
Yeah. I remember talking on the air saying, look, so they're going to get money after $80 million from education.
Correct.
Forget about that. Who's going to? There's not going to be a lot of money that rolls into that kitty, and boy, were we surprised.
Right. I think I know last year it was some $42 million plus that went in.
Yes.
And I think so the previous year too.
And when you look at and here's another reason why the gas stations, the convenience stores would like the gas to be lower. If you go fill up at a pump at $65 and it used to cost you under Trump $35, that's a hell of a lot more money you could have gone in there and spent on stuff inside that store.
It's like any other retail environment, Paul.
Yes.
When you look at the convenience store, when the consumer spends more money at the pump, that's less money for the inside. And typically what we see, the transaction account, the number of transactions is staying about the same, but the amount goes down. So they don't purchase as much inside the store, just like when people go to a grocery store because of the increase in prices.
We used to have, and I'll just revisit this quickly with you, Philip, these card skimmers on the pumps out there were a couple of 3 years ago. I mean, they were really a bad problem. Everybody was a little bit worried about it, but we haven't heard anything on that lately.
Right, and that's the thing. Your credit card information can be skimmed at any point of sale location, whether it's a bank ATM or anywhere. But the convenience stores, the gas pumps tend to be a little bit easier target. But that has settled down in recent years. I think they've moved on to something else, and it's not as bad as it used to be, but it's still out there.
Always good information, sir. Appreciate it very, very much.
Sir.
Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Paul.
And by the way, Mark Muleman Massey is from Senatobia. I am sorry. Thank you on the C Spire text.